Yo, what's up, guys? This video, as you can tell by the title, is me talking about Raid Zero and why I've not decided to watch it and have no intentions of watching it. So I guess I'll talk about how I heard of the series and then everything that's led me up to today and to the decision I made. Because before, my interest in Ray Zero started as I just didn't care, and then it turned into, I'm definitely have no interest in watching this whatsoever. Um, so Ray Zero had came out, I think not this season, but last season, and off the base of just based off the title, which I believe the full title of Ray Zero is. What is the full title of Ray Zero? It's like, which they may not tell me. Wait, let me see. Shit, I don't remember what is the full time for Ray Zero. It's like Ray Zero something in another world, but I'm trying to actually find what it is because I don't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, starting life in another world. That was the name. That's the name of the series. Ray Zero, starting a life in another world, which really just means restart at zero. Um, just off of that title and just off of the first, I think off the first episode, I believe it literally just came off to me as another one of those, an ordinary guy gets transported to a magical world and hijinks ensue. And I was like, I didn't even care. I don't care for shows that do that. I don't even watch shows that do that to begin with. Like, I didn't care for, I think Dog Days does that as too. I never cared for that premise. That was my first thing. That was my first interaction. I was like, I don't care for the premise. And then I heard about the repeating dying and restarting concept, which I think happens relatively early on, and that was interesting. But at that point, I already had made the. At that point, my thought process was like, well, if he restarts after he dies, that's either pretty much the anime becomes really redundant because you're rewatching the same sequence of events over and over again with maybe slight different changes to it every time he dies. So I'm like, that can't be like a major gimmick of the show. And then you're like, oh no, that's a major gimmick of the show. And I'm like, yeah, I don't care for that. And then the hype and love for this series got rocketed when they introduced a blue hair ogre. I think is what she is an ogre, which is by the name of Rim. I saw Rim up and down Facebook and Crunchyroll. The shit was ridiculous. This girl had gained such a following, and I'm like, no one's talking about the main character, but someone's talking about these girl. This girl all of a sudden has gained a whole bunch of attention. And I had seen some clips of Rim because everyone was sharing shit about her. And being a sucker for blue hair chicks, that automatically made me look up some of the stuff. And I was like, okay, I like the character. And then I started learning more about the plot, about how there are checkpoints. He has to get past like a certain point in an event. And there seems to be this checkpoint, so when he does die, he doesn't restart back at the beginning. I was like, okay, the plot is seeming a little bit more interesting, but I'm still not super into the idea of that crab. And I saw there was like a whole bunch of lore to it. I wasn't super interested, all right? Still wasn't super interested. Well, today, well, actually, it was last week. Last week in the day, I think I had saw some clips or some type of maybe no. I think I saw like the preview for the next episode. It was like episode either 16 or 17. I saw it was either 15, 16, or 17. I saw a preview for it, and that shit looked really fucking gory and dark considering the way I had heard of the show, and I was like, oh, this is giving me some serious Akame Got Kill vibes. And if anyone knows me, you know I can't stand Akame Got Kill. And I'm like, I don't know if that's appealing, and I'm starting to want it. So today I decided, you know what? I'm gonna just randomly look at parts of some of the newer episodes. So I think I looked at episode 16 and 17, not all of it, but like parts of it, and I went, oh no, oh no, oh, oh hell no. At least I think it's 16 and 17. I'm not gonna really talk about what happened in those episodes. I'm trying to remind myself if it was 16 or 17. I think it was. No, it wasn't 17. It was episodes 15 and 16 because 17 isn't out. So that means I saw previews for 15 and 16. Anyways, I started looking at clips and I went, whoa, no. And granted, I understand, as I said, I understand enough of the premise to know where it's going. And it's probably one of those shows that does that thing where it puts the main character through a whole bunch of shit and then has him triumph in the end. But I was like, yeah, this seems a little ridiculously harsh considering. And that's when I went and looked up and noticed that this thing was based off a light novel. Well, for certain shows, depending on how I feel, some shows I have no problem spoiling shit about. Especially if I'm very hesitant on watching it. I like to know some of the future arc stuff just so I could see. And so I went and looked up. I did the same thing for Akame Got Killed, so it's not anything new. I did the same thing for Akame Got Killed. I don't think I did it for Sword Art Online because I didn't care. But Akame Got Killed, I did the same thing, and that was one of the reasons why. That immediately turned me off, especially when you learn that the series has a huge problem with killing main characters, and every time it introduces a new one, they die relatively soon in their introduction. So it just feels like he's just trying to like kill characters as a running gag of like a running gimmick of the show of killing main characters to the point now where I think like Night Raid is only like 3 characters. This is fucking ridiculous. 3 or 4 characters. So I went and looked up some light novel stuff for Raid Zero. And I was curious, like, well, I kind of got the gist of the current arc that's going on in episodes 15 and 16, that there's some type of event that Subaru's trying to stop, and they're doing the whole, he gets more desperate as more time goes by, and he's freaking out. And so it's that whole, you put a character at its very worst so he can kind of walk his way back up the triumph. And then I read the spoilers for some of the later arcs. Not even including this one, but some of the other later arcs after this. And I was like, nope. This is full on Akame Got Killed, where it's trying to mix insanely dark subject matter with some decent, not as like harem light as Akame Got Killed was, but like light shit for like slice of life shows. And I was like, nope, that ain't gonna happen. And if you are curious about the spoilers for this current arc, I will say them at the end of the video, and I will warn you before the video is over, so everyone can still keep watching, and I'll warn you beforehand if you want the spoilers. But it's one of those shows that like it's doing that same thing. We gotta drag the main character down as far as we can and fuck with him. That's what we gotta do. We gotta keep fucking with the characters, all of them. Just keep fucking with them. They just keep fucking with all the characters. You give us these little moments of happiness, and then you keep on fucking with them. It's one of the reasons why I can't watch Sinning consistently, because it's very fucking jarring to keep seeing that shit. I don't mind if a show has dark moments and death and all that other crap. I mind when it feels like it's the drawing point of the show. And considering the gimmick of this show is that the main character constantly repeats time, and the only way he can move forward is if he figures out what's killing him every time, learns from those mistakes, and beats that dude. But the thing is, that seems to be a running gimmick of the entire show. And no offense, but like that's an easy way to stunt character progression to where the only thing he ever wants to do, he never thinks he has any character flaws. He thinks the only thing he has to do is just keep dying a few times to figure out what the fuck is killing him and then kill it or stop it, and then everything's fine. Well, that's not character progression. That's just fucking dying. That's just trial and error. That's not character progression. And it's very easy for a main character to get caught up in that shit and be stuck doing, literally just being a generic ass main character who just happens to go through a lot of tragic shit because he has to constantly witness him and his friends dying all the damn time. So even the happy-go-lucky part of the series starts floating away and shit. Like that's just general guesses, because I'm like, there's no way you can do this premise and have the shit still be the same. And on top of the fact that apparently they don't understand where his ability comes from what I've seen, there's a whole nother subsection to the lore and what caused this and who's responsible for his situation in the first place. Whole bunch of other shit, which can be pretty fucking interesting. But I have a sneaking suspicion. I had a sneaking suspicion then before I even looked up the spoilers that it was gonna turn into like it was gonna be some bullshit with it. And I would say I'm probably right. I say probably because obviously I don't know everything, but I'm gonna say I'm probably right. And from what I've heard, this series is only supposed to be 24 episodes, which probably tells me that they're going to end either on this current arc or maybe one more. But from what I've seen of the light novel spoilers for the next arc, it's probably going to be the end of this arc. And now we get to the spoilers for this arc. And this was pretty much the kind of nail in the coffin for me when I found it out. I was like, oh, I ain't got no interest. Oh, well, actually, let me phrase that. It was the spoilers for the later arcs that really kind of sent me into that mode. This was just kind of the start of it. So if you don't want to know the spoilers for the rest of the Ray Zero anime, if they follow the canon anyway, leave now. I'll give you a few seconds. Just leave a like and a comment. Move on. Spoilers. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So if you're still here, that means you don't care about being spoiled for the rest of the anime, or you've already looked at the light novel spoilers yourself. From what I've read, pretty much Subaru ends up doing what he did in the last few arcs, which is learning from his mistakes every time he dies, figuring out what he has to do, dying a whole bunch of times to finally get it right. And by the time he's finally able to win, he wins. It's that moment of triumph. I'm like, all right, cool. I see where you're going, anime. I see where you're going, series. It's nice, but there needs to be more there. Oh, there's more. It's just the more that I had no interest in dealing with whatsoever. You're probably curious, well, what the hell is the more, Terrell? Well, the more actually is, I guess this series has something to do with the 7 Deadly Sins because they mentioned the name Gluttony in the spoilers. Apparently eats the memories of Rem, the blue-haired girl that's been down with Subaru ever since her arc and is, for a lot of people, bae. Apparently, through Subaru's actions of finally figuring out how to beat, I forget the dude's name because obviously I don't know much about it. But he beats the dude, and apparently Gluttony eats the memories of Rem. Pretty much meaning nobody except for Subaru remembers who Rem is. Fucking her over immensely. And so this also puts her in a coma because even her own sister doesn't recognize who she is anymore. So nobody recognizes who she is, and running down in a coma through the shock. This makes Subaru commit suicide on the spot because the girl who's been riding dying with you this entire time is the only one who gets fucked out of you finally figuring out how to beat it. So he automatically kills himself to come back and try to reset and fix the problem, only to find out that his checkpoint has moved. The moment he got past the shit, the checkpoint moved, meaning by the time he realized that he still ended up getting a bad ending for Rem, the checkpoint had moved, so when he killed himself, he jumped right before Rem found out, meaning the memory wipe had already happened. He reset himself to like a few minutes beforehand before he found out that Rem found out that no one remembers her. That to me is one of the most dickish things you can do for an arc. When the whole idea of the show is to have the character get progressively better and go further, to me a good show would have just had him go progressively further along and learn to stay alive longer and longer to the point that even if he was being revived, it happened so rarely it wouldn't be a big deal. Allowing him to go through arcs and learn as a character, that instead of doing that, they would just rather have him fucking keep dying multiple times in an arc until he gets it right, only for him to figure out when he gets it right that he still got it wrong, but be in a position where he can't do anything to change his actions. That's not good to me. That's really fucking dickish and mean, and it makes you not enjoy watching the character. Because essentially I gotta watch the character spiral out of control, hit the ground, and fucking splat multiple times. And then, finally gets it, and you're like, oh, he's coming back, and you're riled up for him. You're like, yeah, you finally figured it out. Get him, get him, get him, get him, get him. And then the shit comes out, and he wins, and then you find out he still doesn't win when he wins. And I'm like, wow. So I had to watch him suffer all that time, and then I get to see him triumph, only to see him suffer even more, just in a very different way. So if you were curious about why I had no intention of watching Re:Zero based just on today's experiences for me, that's why. Because innately I wasn't inherently interested by the plot or premise. Became casually more interested. Saw the weirder Kame Got Killed parallels, and then went and spoiled myself and went, oh no. See, because some shows, like I've spoiled myself on JoJo, and I have no problem still watching that. But that's a fuck you moment. I hate, that's the worst type of death to me in anime. An anime that fucking kills characters either way too fucking soon, or animes that kill characters or fuck characters over who did nothing, who did not deserve any of that shit. It's the worst type of fucking character death. I hate it. And technically, Rim isn't dead. She just got completely fucked over. So yeah, that's why I'm not watching Re:Zero. I'll catch you guys later. Peace, though, man. I'm fucking humans, dude. Terrible, man. Fucking terrible. Shit.